Today's podcast isn't sponsored by anyone, because apparently I have a bad attitude. Me, a bad attitude. I'll tell you who has a bad attitude. All of you. But that won't be a problem after I complete my plan for worldwide domination. Now, where did I put my to-do list?
For the tabletop role-playing news, we aim to amuse and we aim to enthuse. And Morris's unofficial tabletop RPG.
Hello, and welcome yet again to Morris's unofficial tabletop RPG talk. I, as always, am Russ, aka Morris, or Morris, aka Russ. And with me is my co-host...
Peter Coffey from the Southampton Guild of Roleplayers. Russ, as always, an absolute pleasure to be here.
And we have a special guest this week, Peter.
A special guest? My favourite sort.
Special guest. Not the special sort.
Absolutely.
So our guest this week is John Dodd, who we've invited on to talk to us a bit about what it's like behind the scenes at a convention. Because I've never run a convention before.
No, me neither.
But John has been heavily involved with Dragon Meet and with UK Games Expo in different roles in each, and he's going to talk to us a bit about what it's like on the other side of the GM screen of convention organising. That was a good metaphor, wasn't it? Did you like that?
It was indeed.
It seems solid for a role-playing game news podcast, absolutely.
So hi John, thanks so much for joining us.
And good afternoon, gentlemen. How have you both been?
Pretty good.
Very well, thank you.
Peter, what's caught your eye this week in the world of RPGs?
Well, it sounds like something... The thing that's definitely caught my eye this week would be something that's probably caught everybody's eye. It's like a Kickstarter that did, moderately well. Yeah.
Oh, so it's the thing that I was going to say too. I knew you did that. You did that last week as well with GM's Day.
It was my birthday. I'm going to notice GM's Day. What can I say? Probably the thing that I have really been enjoying this past week is something that I've actually enjoyed for some time before, and maybe not a lot of people know about it. It's a little comic strip called Order of the Stick, which follows the adventures of a Dungeons and Dragons theme. And
it is awesome.
You old war horses can laugh if you like, but there are people who will never have heard about it, and they have in front of them the unparalleled joy of reading the 1,000+ comic strips which make up Order of the Stick. So if you're wondering about it, I just go Google giantitp.com and click through an Order of the Stick and go from the first strip. It's really good.
Do you want to, for the people out there who don't know what it is? I'm sure there's like one person out there, maybe two. Do you want to just quickly give a sort of elevator pitch what actually is Order of the Stick?
Sure, no problem. It's entirely done in a Stickman style and follows the adventures of a D&D party. But what really sets Order of the Stick apart from pretty much most of the other role-playing game comics, of which there are many out there, is that the intensity of emotion that can be derived from a stick figure is not one that I ever really expected to see. The Cavalier disregard for the fourth wall is again not unique to the Order of Stick, but one which they handle particularly well. And I think also it's the fact that, say one thing for Rich Burlew, say he writes a cracking plot line and absolutely on point, blazingly sharp dialogue.
I've been a fan for years.
It's a pleasure to read and reread.
Yeah.
So if you haven't read it before, then you should dive in and have a look.
John, has anything caught your eye this week?
Well, it would have to be the Critical Role.
Okay, well, then you have that one then. You are the guest.
Yeah. Well, no, it would be the Critical Role. That's clearly a... Well, we knew it was going to be successful, but my lord.
Astonishing, isn't it?
It's done a little bit better than we thought it might have done.
So, at the moment, it's approaching $7 million, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh.
And I think it's on target because it's the 10th most popular Kickstarter ever at the moment, with like 40 days left to go.
38 days left over, and they've got 5,349,000 looking at it right now. Oh. Yeah, it's a phenomenal amount of money on it.
It's incredible. And, I think they've got a good chance of... Maybe the top one, I had a look the other day, the top Kickstarter ever is a Pebble Watch one.
Yes.
And that did $20-something million. And then Pebble Watch have 3 in the top 5. So Pebble Watch are doing really, really... I've never really paid any attention to Pebble Watch, so I wasn't really aware of this. But they've got 3 in the top 5, 2 at 10 million plus, and then a big one at 20 million.
Interesting.
So I am guessing that Critical Role's gonna. I don't know if it will quite make the top one, but I reckon it's gonna come in at number 2. Is my prediction. It's my guess.
I'm not sure about that. I think it may actually make number 1 because looking at it right now, it hasn't stopped going up while we've been watching.
I know
it's quite literally counting up as we're
I know,
watching
when you
right now.
When you can see those numbers ticking over, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's encouraging. It's really quite good that something like this has got mainstream attention, and it's no longer seen as something that's just on the sidelines.
I remember it was just a few years ago, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where people were expressing amazement at was it either Critical Role or Acquisitions Incorporated, one of the two, filling out a large theatre. Which is obviously something that they do quite often these days, but about 3 or 4 years ago it happened, I believe it was at Gen Con. And everyone was amazed that so many people would pay to go and watch some other people play D&D live.
It's a thing at conventions these days. We have the Dice Stormers, we have a whole bunch of live shows.
Yeah,
and
it's amazing.
The live aspect of it, the community of it, the idea that people around tables, not on headsets, quite ironically with us here, but the idea that people around tables will have more fun because it's there, it's live, you can see every part of it.
Yeah.
And it's just something interesting because it's right there. And
it's just growing, isn't it? I mean, Critical Role is the big daddy of them all, I suppose.
Yes.
And Acquisitions Incorporated sort of is the next along. But there's so many streaming shows now.
Yes.
But we should come onto that a little bit. Maybe we can return to that a little bit on the news segment. Russ, what's caught your eye?
I was looking at Joe Manganiello's Death Saves t-shirts.
Nice.
So GaryCon happened this weekend, and he's been there, and he's been hanging out with all the sort of D&D staff and other people as well. Luke Gygax, obviously, who runs the show. And he's been giving them personalised Death Saves t-shirts with their names sort of emblazoned on them and all the sort of gorgeous art that they have and all that sort of stuff. And they do look. I mean, I'm not usually one to wear a t-shirt with pictures and logos on.
Yeah,
it's not my sort of sartorial style, as it were. But they do look awesome. They do look really good.
Well, there was also some footage on him when he was running games there. Yeah. And it's a wonderful thing to see people who say, I run D&D, I play D&D, and then to see the live feeds coming up on Facebook of him running D&D.
Yeah.
Not dressed up, not makeup, just there running the game.
He's a proper super fan, though, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's got a whole room dedicated to D&D in his house, I believe.
Yes.
Not that I'm stalking him or anything. I saw that on the internet.
It seems to happen more and more frequently. I ran into a chap who organises things over in the UK for quite a lot of online stuff with Facebook, and he's got a whole room dedicated to D&D as well.
Yeah.
It's a nice setup.
I wish I could have a whole room dedicated to D&D, but that's really not happening in this house.
I think Sharon would rebel.
I think she would. I don't think she'd approve, no. Anyway, do you think we should get on with the news?
Oh, go on then. I suppose if we must.
Yeah, we are a news podcast. Let's do it. So the big news item obviously was Critical Role, and we kind of covered that now. But it's just absolutely astonishing, and I don't know why. I really want it to become number one. Doesn't make any difference to me, really. It doesn't affect me in any way. But I'm really rooting for them to come, in at number one on Kickstarter.
Without doubt. I mean, the other thing about it being is that it removed things like technology that everyone's into anyway, and replace it with something that we love.
Yeah.
Which, that makes a big difference to me.
Yeah, I think was it last year? Wizard of the Coast, and were they at Gamma, somewhere like that, where they had a presentation where they said 50% of new player acquisitions in the last year or so came through via streaming.
Yep,
that was their gateway into the hobby.
Yep.
Yeah,
and that's massive, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, people look around, and it's like, if you can't find role players, if you're just like, what is this D&D thing? Then, having a look at a stream, and if you've got a 4-hour attention span to watch it, then, more power to your elbow.
But I think when you see a group of people who are obviously having a good time, you kind of want a bit of that, don't you? So you look at these people having a really good time, playing D&D, and you think, that looks really good fun. They're clearly having a lot of fun. They're clearly enjoying themselves. I want a bit of that. And that's kind of like the I say gateway into the hobby. Yeah, it's how they get into it in the first place, isn't it?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. Long time since when I started. Playing in a spare classroom at school during the lunch break.
Yeah. Oh, a different time, man. Different time.
Different time. Yeah. There was no internet. I feel so old.
Well, it's the way the world is these days.
Yeah.
So, anything else in the news, or is it just like
stuff.
all the money and attention is being soaked up by Critical Role?
There's loads of stuff.
In the last week, it's all been Critical Role.
So Modifius have announced that they're going to be distributing Grimmer Space.
Yes.
Which was the Starfinder? Yeah, Starfinder, isn't it? The Starfinder setting created by Sean Astin, who's Sam Gamgee in Lord of the Rings. And originally, Wesley Snipes was involved. But he seems to have dropped out because apparently they kept on sending his contract over to him and he never signed it and sent it back.
Nah.
So, yeah, I don't know what was going on there. Famous Hollywood person. He's probably too busy. I don't know. But it's a sci-fi horror setting for Starfinder.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's been done by Modifius. So using the Starfinder system...
Well, it's been distributed by Modifius.
It's been distributed by Modifius. The system itself has already been... they're using the Starfinder system.
Yeah.
But the setting and everything else about it has been developed in conjunction with Sean Astin.
Yeah. With you. Okay.
Yeah, there's a Kickstarter coming soon, apparently. So we've got Sean Astin. We've also got Roan Barton.
Yep.
Of was it INGM Games, and Lou Agresta, who's a game designer and novelist, and lots of Emmy nominees and all sorts of stuff. So that's something to keep an eye out for later this year.
Absolutely. What's that? Grimmer Darkness, did you say?
Grimmer Space.
Grimmer Space.
Space.
Grimmer
Yes,
Space.
right.
It's one word. Grimmer Space.
Oh, very good. Right.
Wizards of the Coast have a brand new game designer.
Ooh, congratulations to them. Who's that?
They have just hired Dan Dillon.
Dan Dillon.
Yeah, so he used to work over at Kobold Press, and he also does an awful lot of work on the Dungeon Masters Guild, doing third-party things for Wizards of the Coast. I think the previous game designer was about a year ago. Who did they hire before?
I think it was a lady whose name I forget.
Oh, Kate Welsh. Yes. So. Yeah. So she was the previous one. So he's now the newest person. He's a really nice guy. I've been on a podcast with him once, and I've exchanged a couple of tweets with him. So I don't know him well, but my initial interaction with him, he's a really, really nice guy, and he's been working with people like Rogue Genius Games and Christina Stiles, Paizo, obviously, and now Kobold Press, and then Wizards of the Coast.
Russ always rubbing shoulders with celebrities.
Well. Not really. Exchanging a tweet with is not quite.
Well, give them values. Give them values, man.
Yeah.
Oh, well, congratulations to Dan Dillon. Well done. I'm looking forward to seeing what new stuff he is unleashed upon. Right. So, what else we got?
Oh, we have more Modifius news.
Huzzah!
Fallout.
Fallout. Ooh.
Yes.
It's like
Fallout.
1,000 fanboys all perked up their ears at the same
Fallout,
time.
which sadly I have to admit I don't know anything about.
Oh, well,
It's a video game, I believe, isn't it?
It is a video game, yes.
Yes, I've never played it. I barely play video games, but video games are basically my blind spot.
Okay.
It could be described as at least reasonably successful.
So, anyone want to educate me? Tell me, what is it? It's a post-apoc, is it?
John, it sounds like you've got a much better handle on this than I do.
It is post-apocalyptic. I mean, the latest one, Fallout 76, obviously, it is doing really well. They've finally got all the bugs out of the system and everything else, which it always happens. These things are as they are. The trouble with video games is obviously you've released it, and then you've got to re-release everything else every time someone finds something wrong with it.
Right.
But yeah, with the joyous thing with the role-playing game is obviously when it's out, it's down to you to make the story, and there it is. But it is a post-apocalyptic setting, very popular. Very popular. I do not play it myself. I don't have the time.
No, that's basically the
and the one thing these things are is a massive sink of time.
Yes.
If you're playing it, the campaigns are hours, weeks long. and it's fully immersive. It's you
Lots of
lose yourself.
exploration.
I'm still working my way through GTA 5. Put it that way.
Okay.
I've got 3/4 of the way through, I think.
2010 called once it's getting back to us.
Exactly.
And another thing about Fallout, which makes it quite suitable for a tabletop conversion, is it's always had a very strong RPG element. There's always been explicitly stats and skills and perks which you can choose to make yourself better. So, I'm only surprised it's not happened before.
So this one is using the 2D20 system, which is Motivius's in-house system, which powers Star Trek Adventures and Infinity and all sorts of different games, Conan, and things like that.
Roll equal to or under, I think, and lots of Doom and Momentum and so forth.
It's got a meta currency in there as well.
Always
okay, we have more news.
Even more news?
We have more news. Can you believe it? We have more RPG news. Pathfinder 2nd Edition.
Yes.
All right, I'm not announcing that they're making a 2nd edition. That's everyone knows that now. But what they have done is reveal some information about the actual release this August and what that's going to involve. So it's coming out at Gen Con, as we already knew. So there's going to be a Pathfinder core rulebook, 600 pages.
Yep.
Wow.
That's that's a doorstop.
It's larger than the previous ones.
Yeah. It's that's a biggie, and that's not even including the bestiary, which is a separate hardcover.
Oh wow!
Because I was originally, when they said 600 pages, I thought, well, yeah, if you compare that to like D&D, you've got 3 hardcovers, and you combine them together, it's roughly the same size, and Paizo are just putting them all into the one. But no, the bestiary's separate, so big old book that. They've got an adventure pass coming called Age of Ashes, with the first adventure being released in August at Gen Con.
Right.
A standalone adventure called The Fall of Plaguestone, also being released then.
Okay.
A setting guide called The Lost Omens World Guide. I'm not 100% clear what that is. I think that's still set in their Galarian default setting, I assume.
Yep.
And then they've got the usual sort of GM screen, initiative tracker, combat pad thing, character sheets, condition cards, all that sort of stuff. Because Paizo are always good at releasing all sorts of different accessories and things like that to go with your game.
Solid use of paraphernalia.
Yeah. So they're all going to be available August the 1st, and there's going to be some deluxe editions with this red embossed faux leather cover. Looks quite exciting.
Well, it's always the way, though, isn't it? If you can release something special.
Yeah.
Is there anything else in the news, Russ?
There is other things in the news.
Good grief. What a week for news it's being.
So Deborah Ann Wall's Relics and Rarities show. Do you remember we mentioned that a few weeks ago?
We were busy discussing who was going to sign up to go and see it.
Well, the good news is the first episode is available for free on YouTube.
Ooh.
So you can go and watch it right now without plonking down a penny.
Okay, I can go watch it right now.
Well, maybe not right now. I've watched the first half of it, and I really liked it. I wasn't sure whether I would or not, because I wasn't 100% sure what it was. So I really liked what I've seen so far, and then go back and watch the end of it. And it's definitely got some decent, it's got some good feedback sort of on the message boards and things like that. So it looks like,
It looked interesting, but
she's really good. She's a really good game master. She's like, and I suppose actors tend to be, though. I suppose because it's part and parcel. There's a big overlap, isn't there, in skill sets?
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't think?
I think there can be.
I think there can be, but I think the lack of script when it comes to actually running a game, and the fact that you don't have pre-assigned roles to it, and anything at all can happen, frequently does.
Yep.
And as a result, it's I don't know, closer to improvisational theatre rather than actually acting.
Yeah.
You have a role, but it is not determined as to what that role actually ends up being.
Yeah.
And you're also very dependent upon the players that you have as well.
Yes.
I quite liked. They've got a mix of comedy actors and directors, so I was thinking, well, every time I've seen a comedy actor take on a serious role, they've actually turned out to be rather good. I'm thinking specifically of Jim Carrey here, who in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which still after all these years just blows me away with how well he was able to do that. So, looks like a strong cast, strong lead. I'll definitely see if I can get us to watch that on the old YouTubes.
So, Wizards of the Coast are considering changing the format of their mini stat blocks.
They're mini stat blocks.
You know when they'll say in an adventure, they'll sort of have, Fireface Muck Dragon, and then in brackets, then it will say Lawful Good Female Mountain Dwarf Knight or something. Mm-hmm. When it's buried in the text, that's the sort of standard way they present it.
Okay, yeah, I can't say I've ever really noticed, but it sounds.
Yeah, I think it's kind of something you're not really supposed to notice. It's, but they're kind of thinking of dispensing, according to Chris Perkins at least, who's one of the lead designers over at Wizards. They're thinking of dispensing that and writing it all out just in natural language sentence form, like using no abbreviations or anything like that. So they sort of say, Borf is a chaotic neutral non-binary shield dwarf berserker with dark vision out to a range of 60 feet. Like a sentence rather than a...
Okay, well, I can see why you do it. It obviously more narrative in approach, but at the same time, if all you're actually after is exactly what that thing does... I'm of two minds about it. I think it looks nicer, written out as a sentence. Oh, without a doubt, but it's not quite so easy to pick out the information you need.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Like they moved away from doing those little potboiler texts in Dungeons and Mad Mage, which described each area. So now they're sort of like taking that out of it, but they also seem to be taking out like the actual stat blocks.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see if Ghost of Saltmarsh has that boiler text, read aloud text back or not. It'll be interesting to see. I suspect it will have.
Definitely want to look out for.
Yeah, I think we're coming to the end of the news now, though. Breathe a sigh of relief. A sneak peek at some Ghosts of Saltmarsh maps, which I'll stick a link to in the show notes, because obviously that's a visual thing, and you can't really do that on a podcast. We got a nice big colour map of the area and some ship deck maps from Dyson Logos, who's one of the cartographers of the book.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes. They came off the Twitch stream, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like pretty much what you'd expect from a coastal adventure. You have a picture of coastline, locations, numbered, looks like, about 30 odd, with like a little island, and then you've got like sort of I presume that is the salt marsh off to the left, coast off to the right, and then sort of a thin strip of land and a village where things will presumably be occurring. Different levels of terrain, a scale, like, what's that, 2,000 feet? So it's like, about 1, 2, 3, 4, just like 5 miles by 3 miles. So you've got like 15 square miles or so of setting to have a play around in.
Yeah, it's that underutilized talent describing a map on a podcast. It's not quite the medium for it, is it? But people can check out the show notes and follow the link and have a proper squeeze at it that way.
Absolutely, yeah, it looks interesting.
I got some news about my stuff. News? Yeah, some self-promotion. So my Galactic Sentience catalogue I said last week was about to go out.
Okay,
it has gone out.
Hey!
The Galactic Sentience catalogue, the book of races for the What's On His New system, book of alien races, and also all the Judge Dredd Kickstarters rewards are arriving, and people keep tweeting me with pictures of Kickstarter rewards.
Are they very pleased to see the things you sent them in the post address?
Well, so far they have been, yes.
Marvellous. I'm
just so glad these things are arriving, and I just can't wait to, see people playing it.
Excellent stuff.
Right. I think that is now it for the news.
Marvellous.
So there was this new segment I wanted to quickly try out, because I whacked over in the Patreon. So we have 21 patrons at the moment. And I asked those 21 patrons whether they wanted to ask us a question. And we would attempt to answer their questions on the podcast. I didn't know what questions I'd get.
Yes.
I don't know whether we'll be qualified to answer them. But I thought...
Massively woefully underqualified. I'm sure.
What is the worst that could happen?
Indeed.
And it's just a little way to sort of say thanks to our patrons just for, supporting us with, say, $1 a month or whatever, just to, buy us a cup of coffee a month or something. Because it does cost us money to run this podcast. And
we're away from being able to afford coffee, Russ. But,
well, that is true. Or really squash.
I appreciate the generosity anyway. John, would you be so good as to help us out with answering some of these questions?
Of course, no problem at all.
It's only three very quick ones. So we're going to start with number one. From our good friend Shane Plays, long-time listener of the podcast. He has asked, what's an RPG or sourcebook for an existing RPG you're surprised no one has ever officially published?
So here we're looking at something that's never been published, but would be something that you'd think about wanting to see.
I know what I think. Harry Potter.
Wow, that's a good one to get in with.
Maybe not for D&D. I don't know whether for D&D, but maybe. I don't know.
I've got a chap down the club running a mad mashup of Harry Potter meets Magic the Gathering.
Oh yeah, in what system?
I believe at one point it was 5th edition, but time and things from the internet have mutated it into what I can more accurately describe as a D20 related system.
Fair enough. Well, the thing with Harry Potter is I think a lot of people have wanted to make Harry Potter RPGs, but every time J.K. Rowling's been approached about the subject, she's never been interested.
No, not happening.
Yeah. I'm not 100% sure why.
I think it puts, because the source material is so widely known, because it's so well ingrained, there's only certain things you can do with it. And the second you step outside the official background, the canon, you're into the realms of doing things that you could do with any system at all.
Sure. I mean, I'd argue the same holds true of Star Wars, though, or any other, big licensed property.
It absolutely does, but the difference with those is that they've already got a massive, massive universe.
Yeah.
Millions of planets, starships, faster than light travel, anywhere you want to go.
So it's more of a narrative issue, really, and the Harry Potter world is more of a much smaller narrative.
Yeah.
In a sort of geographic sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's phenomenal things, but it's where do you go with it?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
You could start out as a living campaign, start off in the first year, and then move all the way through until you graduate. Absolutely, no problem at all. But you then have to find a story that's as compelling as the actual story, and not everyone can be the chosen one.
Yeah, that is true. It is very much based around it. Well, I suppose there's the spin-offs. What's the Crimes of Grindelwald? What's that? Fantastic Monsters.
That's a prequel. Grindelwald being a pre-Voldemort big bad guy. I don't know lots about it, but there was a big...
Nope, I know absolutely nothing about it.
No, I haven't seen it either, so I can't...
As I understand it, it's sort of the magical war that was sort of running parallel to the World Wars, or the Second World War. And it was like some European wizard of some description, but that's about as far as I know. So.
Okay. Well, that's more than I know, so there we go. Yeah. So anyway, so hopefully, Shane, that answered your question.
Well, that certainly one. Well, I thought we'd each have a go at this, shall we?
Go on.
Yeah. I was going to say something like the Starship Troopers by Robert A. Heinlein, because I'm a big Heinlein fan. I really like his books. But then when I looked, I found out that actually there is a Starship Troopers RPG.
Yes, there is.
From 2005.
Oh, yeah.
I managed to miss that. So I'd like to change my answer in a stunning display of quick-witted, smooth-talking, dancing around the subject to The Number of the Beast, which is also a book by Heinlein, which consists of multi-dimensional travel, which can go from anywhere in the known universe to anywhere in parallel dimensions and all the way down a sort of a fictional timeline as well. So I think in terms of like sliding around, that could be an excellent setting to explore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it would have to be Vin Diesel's multiverse when it comes to the Riddick universe.
Oh, I didn't even think about it.
I'm more surprised why that's never actually seen, because he is obviously a great fan. Now, clearly he's more occupied with things that bring in billions of pounds, but at the same time, it's always been something he said, it's been written up, it's ready to go, all he has to do is actually publish it.
Okay.
And some part of me wonders why it never has come to pass.
It's probably just time and Fast and Furious and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that would certainly, I think, be something that would be very interesting to see, because I actually quite like the Chronicles of Riddick.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I hope that answers your question, Shane. If it doesn't, I'm sure he'll let us know all about it on our Discord.
So, Todd Chambery.
Yes?
He wants to know, I haven't heard you guys mention anything about my favourite RPG, Dungeon Crawl Classics. Have you played it? What did you think? Well, for me, that's quite short.
Yeah, DCC is very good. Yeah,
I haven't played it, unfortunately. I can't comment.
Oh, you really should rest. Maybe I'll come over on some Thursday and run it for you. Yeah, it's part of the OSR movement, which has received a bit of flack due to the controversial creator that's associated with one small part of that product line. But Dungeon Crawl Classics is, it's very OSR. It gives you all sorts of opportunity to explore, like the weird gonzo Appendix N sort of role-playing, and is most famous for things like having a funnel at level 0.
Yes, I'm familiar with that. Yeah, I think that's quite a good idea.
Yeah, you get 5 characters and they try and... Whoever survives the horrendous death traps, they get to level up to level 1, and then whoever survives that will... well, we don't know. No one's ever managed to make it to level 2.
Have you played it, John?
Yes, I have. I've played it a number of times. As we say, the scenarios are extremely lethal. Tomb of Horrors level of lethal, which... on the one hand is brilliant. If you're into that sort of play, it's fantastic. If you're into more of a, okay, we'll start, we know we're not very good, and we'll get a chance to get better. If you're used to that, it's going to come as a hell of a shock.
Yeah, I think I do need to give that a shot.
Yeah, going from 0 to hero is not really that much for an option, because even at your higher levels, you are still relatively low powered compared to 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons.
Yeah.
Yes.
So is it sort of based DCC? Is it sort of similar to sort of 1st edition or OD&D?
If you played 2nd edition, I understand it's very, very similar.
It's almost identical.
Yeah. Okay.
It's very good though. I mean, it's certainly getting more interest in conventions. The way I always see things is how many people want to play it at conventions, how many people are offering it at conventions, and in this particular case, DCC is getting a lot more interest now. They're planning on doing tournaments and multi-scenario systems and everything else, which, I think is going to be very interesting if it keeps on going the way it is.
Oh, there we go. Well, Todd Chambery, 2 of us have played the game, 1 of us has not, but the one that has not is going to now. There we go. He's been talked into it by the other 2, who managed to sell it so well that it sounds awesome, and I definitely want to play it.
We had to twist his arm super hard.
To be fair, it's not that hard to get me to want to play an RPG. So low bar here. Trying to get me to play football, that's a little more difficult. From a long-time Patreon supporter, I think he was one of our first, if not our first, Bernie Monsanto.
Daddy Warbucks, as I like to call him.
He wants to know, what would you say is your best critical success and critical fail in all the role-playing games you have ever played? Ooh, difficult one.
That is tricky.
35 years of interesting memories. Yep.
I'll tell you my worst. Right, my critical fail is when I was younger, probably in my teens. So not that long ago. When I was younger, I used to think it was important to punish players for missing sessions.
It is important to punish players for missing sessions.
Which is definitely a thing that I do not do anymore, because I came to the realisation it's also important that my players enjoy the game. Which
but they can only enjoy the game if they are there.
Well, that is certainly true. That is
true. Yes. So go on, Russ. Tell us more about your.
I was super strict about. Right, this is terrible. So
it's all coming out now. Go on.
So
get it off your chest, man.
So someone who missed a session obviously wouldn't get XP for that session. Which is kind of fair enough. I mean, it means they start falling behind and stuff, which could be problematic, but whatever. But what I would do, and I am deeply ashamed of it, if someone had missed a session, I would make sure that session was a much more XP-heavy session, just to punish the person that missed it. Which is terrible, and I would never do that now. To be fair, I was like 13 or something, and I don't know what to tell you. He asked for a critical fail. That was my critical fail.
I think Dork Tower covered it at least 2 or 3 times where the character got killed by wombats. So I think you're not being entirely unfair there. So
having your character killed off screen is unfortunate, I think.
Yeah. Oh, crikey.
What about you guys?
I think probably my most interesting critical success was actually playing a game of Mage quite recently. And for various reasons, it had all gone sideways, as happens in Mage. And there was like a bridge between sort of the regular world and the supernatural world, or the supernal world, and connecting the two. I was like, but I don't want to connect the two. I'd like to make the bridge go somewhere else. And the DM sighs, rolls his eyes and says, fine. But you're going to need like 5 successes. I've got 2 dice. Yeah. So if you roll 10s, they explode, which means you can roll them again. And you keep rolling until you run out of 10s. Yeah, so I got 5 successes off 2 dice. That was fortunate. Less fortunate for the world, as I managed to break all of magic within it.
Excellent.
But, quite frankly, I thought mages were all very dangerous people. So even if there were more vampires and so forth, it was probably for the best. That was probably my critical success. And the critical failure I probably most enjoyed was I was DMing a game. I had gone so right down to the wire. Like 4 out of 6 party members were busy doing their best bleeding as fast as they could impression on the floor. We had a barbarian who had discarded his axes and was like literally trying to punch a skeleton to death. And there was a bard who had a torch who was fighting a zombie. And zombies in 5th edition D&D, they get knocked down and they get up again. And it was basically almost impossible for them to take this guy down permanently. So he hit him, took the zombie down to 0. I'm like, oh, I need to roll a 2+ to get this zombie back on its feet. This is not good. I rolled a 1.
Oh dear.
So that helped change it around from what was looking to be an embarrassing TPK situation into and you get to live. And of course, I'm rolling the dice in front of the screen because that's how I roll, so they could all see that. And that was a jolly good time, I felt.
Excellent. What about you, John? Critical success? Critical fail?
The best critical success I've ever seen wasn't in one of my games.
Okay.
I've run another convention called LongCon where you play one game for 48 hours. Across the entire weekend, basically. You've got as many hours as you want to try and finish it in that time. And the group of players, this was, I think, 2016, and they were playing the Dracula dossier. They'd been preparing for the game, they'd played for about 6 months prior, and they were finishing it at LongCon. And I walked in at the end of the convention, this was 5 o'clock on the Sunday afternoon, and, the group was somewhat decimated. Now, I can't give any spoilers away at this point in time, but one of the players had become a vampire in order to achieve something.
Right.
Yeah. But then had lost control to the Red Thirst and had managed to wipe out 2 of the other players.
Excellent.
So they were single digits, hit points both, 1 roll. Either the player character who's still on the right side wins and darkness is defeated, or the vampire wins and it's all been for nothing.
Ooh.
And the good guy won. The entire table stopped, breathed, went outside for a smoke.
Even the ones that didn't smoke.
Exactly. And that was brilliant. Just to see people who've been playing 30 years and they're so into it. They were all round the table, they're all stood up, they're all fists on the table.
Those moments are amazing, aren't they? They really are.
It's those moments that make all the difference. Critical fail, well, there's been a few of those. However, I would have to say Paranoia, Plasma Generator, and my good friend Joel Musgrave, if he's listening, who can't roll anything apart from blow the damn thing up.
Dang.
Every time he got hold of one, the first thing he did, first time he rolled it, every time, boom. So we started running to the point where we just ran ahead of him and went, nope, you're not having it.
Oh, paranoia.
No plasma generators.
Yeah.
No plasma generators for you.
Yeah, long time since I played Paranoia. I've got to play that again sometime soon, I think. Who's doing it now? Is it Mongoose now? Paranoia?
Well, Mongoose, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. The new Ultraviolet edition, James Wallace. Very lovely. I have to say, it a little bit late, but superb product when it was finished. Down to the whole, you get the pack of forms that you have to fill in as players. So everything your investigator has to fill in is actually there as a form. Excellent. And your character sheets come as dry wipe, so you could just tell them which clone you're on. So, yeah, that's brilliant.
Sounds like indeed.
Well, there we go. So that is our best critical successes and critical fails. So thank you, Bernie Monsanto, for asking that question. Anyone else wants their questions asked, head on over to our Patreon. You need to be a patron. That is only, you can do that for as little as $1 a month. Or you can do it for as much as you like. The more, the better, because, we like eating and stuff. And so head on over to patreon.com/Morris, where you'll find our Patreon. And if you are a patron, you can ask us a question, and we will get to it as best we can.
Prisoner, how do you plead?
Not guilty, your worshipfulness.
You have been charged with the grievous and downright disgusting crime of grave robbing.
Grave robbing? I was just adventuring, your splendidness.
You approached a grave in the dead of night, foully murdered 2 mourners, and broke into the deceased's crypt.
You mean those 2 goblin guards? Yeah, that's what I mean, your highness. That's what adventuring is.
You then crept into the final resting place of the recently passed, deliberately circumventing the reasonable security measures the family had put in place.
You mean the spike traps and the lava pit of ferocious fire piranhas, your grandness?
Yes, and then you ventured deeper into the tomb and stole a sentimental family heirloom.
Oh, that was just Excalibur 14, your grace. It's a +5 Holy Avenger, you know.
Then, having slain the poorly deceased mourners, broken into the dearly departed's grave, and robbed their family of their treasures, you still have the gall to plead not guilty?
Well, yes, your lordship. I mean, I'm an adventurer. That's what we do.
I find you guilty of murder most foul, desecration of a holy resting place, and burglary most wicked. Have you any last words before sentence is passed?
I guess it's a fair cop, Gov.
Is it time to play our favourite game in all the world ever?
It is time to play our favourite game in all the world. The game where I tell you the name of a Kickstarter and you try and guess what it is from just the title.
Oh, best put these D10 away then, haven't I?
Have you heard of this world-famous game, John?
Well, I have heard of it, but I have to ask on the rules. Is it always a game one?
Well, the rules are quite simple. I read out the name of a Kickstarter title.
Yes.
You do your best to guess what that Kickstarter is from just the title, and then I give you a very accurate and highly scientific score, and then we just see who wins each week.
Okay.
I'm told there's a spreadsheet and everything. It's very exciting.
Yes. So, should we do 2 each then?
Oh, yes, please.
2 each. Do you want to start, Peter? Then John can see how it goes.
I'd love to start. Yes.
Okay, then. So, your one. What is Comrades?
Ooh. I think Comrades is a game about revolutions. I'm hoping for some sort of socialist ones. And what the hell? Let's have it be Powered by the Apocalypse. 1920s to 1940s Russia. And you're there leading a revolution somewhere.
Have you definitely not seen this? That is spot on. That is even down to the game system. Wow.
Wait, no, I said Powered by the Apocalypse, not Fate.
Powered by the Apocalypse. So, Comrades, a revolutionary RPG, a tabletop role-playing game about life in the revolutionary underground, where a roll of the dice can change the world. Powered by the Apocalypse, it's a core rule book for an RPG. I don't know how you did that. You got that spot on. 10 points out of 10 there, Peter.
Well, thank you. It's basically because I couldn't think what else Comrades could possibly be.
No?
Well done. It wasn't going to be a fifth ed. It wasn't going to be a fifth ed conversion.
Yeah. So you could play characters such as the soldier, the student, the propagandist, and the worker. and you can mount rallies, stage coups, evade the secret police, and fight fascist goons.
Fantastic.
All the best stuff.
Sign me up.
Yeah. That looks quite good fun, actually. I like the look at that one. Well, there you go. 10 out of 10. Wow.
Oh, thank you very much.
Peter takes an early lead.
Yeah, in fairness, John, that I just got unusually lucky there. I normally way over to left field.
Well, it's John's turn now. Let's see if he can catch up. Okay, John, are you ready? So this one is called Jinkies. Jinkies, the role-playing game, and I'll spell that for you. Jinkies. With an exclamation mark at the end.
As per the Scooby-Doo of the aforementioned, I'm guessing.
Maybe.
Well, let's have a look. So we'll presume an independent system, minimal stats, and something along the lines of those damn kids from the 1980s, I would have thought. But obviously Jinkies, it's... Well, I'd like to say it's the official Scooby-Doo role-playing game, given that they've used that particular word, but I'm pretty sure that the copyright on that may have lapsed, but I would have thought something along those lines where you're paying kids from the 1980s, riffing on the Stranger Things notion of things. And I'm resisting the temptation to type into Kickstarter at the moment, so go ahead, tell me how I'm doing.
That is 2 in a row where you've both nailed it completely. This never happens, by the way.
Yeah, this is unusual.
This is unusual. So that is exactly what it is. It is a role-playing game about solving a mystery with the gang. Animated hijinks, talking animals, and plenty of groovy snacks. Based on the mystery adventure cartoons of the 1970s, like Scooby-Doo, Jabberjaw, or Josie and the Pussycats. Well,
there we go.
There we go. So, a level peg in there, 10 each, 10 points each out of 10.
Well played, John, well played.
Ooh.
Yep.
How are we going to resolve this?
Rock, paper, scissors?
How about a tiebreaker? First one to answer.
Okay.
I've got one more here. All right. Terry Mancor's Spellmonger.
Is it about someone who sells spells?
No.
Oh, okay. well, there I go then. Well, I don't think it's a very good name if you're going to call it Spellmonger and no one is selling spells.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I didn't write it. I'm just a messenger.
Well, I'll shoot you anyway.
What was the name of the writer again?
Terry Mancor, Mancour.
New York Times, isn't it? Bestseller. I've never read the books.
Me neither.
Oh.
But I write fantasy, so yeah. Nope, I know nothing about the books, unfortunately, so nope, you've got me as well.
Okay, well, so Terry Mancor's Spellmonger series is being brought to the Pathfinder RPG and D&D 5th edition.
Okay.
It's produced by Battlefield Press.
Interesting.
It's a tale of a human mage descended from space colonists set amid a fantasy war.
Okay, sorry. Please continue. I'm listening.
There we go. One night, Minalan is forced to pick up his mage blade again to defend his adopted home from the vanguard of an army of goblins bent on a genocidal crusade against all mankind.
And this is the sci-fi setting where he's descended from sci-fi colonists, but then he's fighting goblins with his mage blade.
Yes.
Interesting.
Well, there you go. I've never heard of it before either, but seems like the novels are popular, so...
Yeah. Okay. Right, so I think we should probably call that an actual.
I think that's
draw.
an actual draw there, isn't it?
I think that's a draw. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well played, John. I'm genuinely in awe. So.
Right, I think it's probably time that we started talking about John. But,
Oh yes, that's
why we've invited him here. Well, more specifically about conventions and the conventions he's involved with.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Well, I currently... Well, let's have a look. I'm part of the UK Games Expo senior staff team, so on the day I'm the RPG manager and the floor manager, we now call it front of house. So in the run-up to it, I organise all the RPGs there, and on the day, I make sure any problems that go on in the NEC are taken care of before they get to the directors, and that's how that works. I'm the co-owner of Dragon Meat, having just come to that one earlier last year.
That's along with Modifius, isn't it? Chris Birch's.
That's the one, along with Chris Birch. That's the one, no problem at all. Chris asked me to come on board 5 years ago when he first took it over. And we've been building it since then to what it is at the moment. And last year, Jonathan, the other partner in the group, decided he wanted to go away and do something else. So I bought his shares and we moved from there. I helped with the RPGs at Aircon, which was this weekend just gone. It's a large convention up in Harrogate, going from strength to strength. It's doing really well. And I organise a convention of my own, which is LongCon, which is devoted to the art of the long games, where you literally have one game across the entire weekend.
Wow.
And the idea is to get back to the times when I don't know about you two, but when I was younger and had far more time available and far less commitments to that time, you'd get together with friends as often as you could, and sometimes you'd get the whole weekend and just play games all weekend.
I've done a 24-hour game once.
Yep.
Which it's tiring.
Yep.
It starts to slow down towards the sort of 16th hour, and then you sit there thinking, can I do this for another 10 hours? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the difference behind that one is that when you're working in 4-hour slots, which most conventions do, you've got to get different games. You've got to have the time prepared in between them. You've got to do all the other stuff, which it's exhausting for a lot of people. So not many people do all the different slots. Whereas with LongCon, the idea is, well, you don't have to prepare for anything else. You just go, it's this one game.
Yeah.
So it becomes a lot more relaxed, even though you're doing far more hours. It's the same players, it's the same game, and you can have a lot more. It's much more immersive as a result because you've got the time to go through things rather than having to rush from one end of the scenario to the other. So, and in a nutshell, that's what I do. There's other conventions I help, but I can be here a very long time listing them.
So Dragon Meat, that's what's the Hammersmith Novotel in London?
That is Hammersmith Novotel. This year we've pretty much got the entire hotel, so we've moved it up again and again because we were nearly on the limit last year.
Yeah, I was there in December. It's a great little show that it is. There's something really spot on about the atmosphere at that one.
Yeah,
I always find.
It's intense. I mean, the trouble is behind it, it's in London, so moving it to a multi-day event, you've either got money to burn, which we don't, or you've already managed to build the audience that goes to it, because most conventions, you've got to be aware of the area that you're in, as well as what you're doing. With a multi-day convention, if you're doing a multi-day convention, you've got to have something different on every day, and it's got to be something interesting every day. And at the moment, we're doing very well as a one-day convention, but we're not quite ready, especially in London. You're asking people to pay London prices to stay over.
Yeah.
It's a big thing.
I mean, I'm in Southampton, so I head up on the train and back in the same day to do Dragon Meat.
That's what most people do,
But it's a good day, though. I mean, I think one day kind of feels right for it, at least from my point of view.
I've been along, I think when it was in South Kensington at the town hall. That was very loads of fun there. UK Games Expo, that's over in Birmingham.
Yes, it is. We're now at the NEC. We're Hall 1 and 2, and I cannot confirm at present, but it may be more than that this year.
I was there last year, and it's just growing so much, visibly in front of your eyes every year. It's astonishing, that one.
We've been averaging 40 to 50% growth most years.
Wow.
I actually had no idea that there was an RPG stream at UK Games Expo. but it's like all the people I know who've been telling me about it are all dedicated board games.
Is it? Yeah, there's a lot of board games.
All the board games you like. Yeah. I'm like, that's nice.
There is, but it's also presently, with the demise of Compulsion some years ago. There's a number of other conventions. We now average 450, 500 games across the weekend. But they're all held in the Hilton.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you go to the NEC, you'll never see them.
Right.
For example, this year we've got the D&D Open. First time in 20 years. It's being held in the UK. So there's a 150 player game right there that works for 8 hours.
Yeah.
We've got a brand new worldwide premiere of an Epic, which is on the Friday, because we can't hold them on the same day because people just burn out. And we do special events like Cthulhu Masters. Onyx Path is submitting a couple of new games now, and it's a lot larger than it was. At the moment, I think we are actually... I don't know the numbers of some of the other smaller conventions, but some of the more dedicated RPG conventions hold comparable numbers, but as far as I'm aware, we're the largest one.
I think it's you and Origins kind of vie for the number 3 position, UK Games Expo. And they usually leapfrog each time, so it's UK Games Expo, then Origins, then each time you're going up. But it does seem like all the conventions are doing that, like growing quite rapidly right now.
Yes, I think it's more a thing that people have started realising that you can go to these things, and it's not just about nerds. More importantly, it's okay to be there.
Yeah.
Whereas back in the 1980s, you were,
I mean,
and let's face it, the 90s as well.
The hobbies are a lot more mainstream now, though, isn't it? That's partly that. And also,
it's glorious.
And also, there's
so many more people to play with.
And also, there's better ambassadors for the hobby when you got all the Critical Role types and all the Joe Manganiellos and all those sort of types. As sort of ambassadors. I'm doing Games Expo for the first time as an exhibitor this year.
All right.
So that's going to be interesting because I've never ever been an exhibitor at a convention before. I've always been a punter. So that is going to be really interesting. Just seeing it from that point of view. I don't really know what to expect, to be honest, never having done it. I imagine it's a lot of hard work and long days, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you put it from the... so you'll be arriving on Thursday, setting up on Thursday to open on Friday, and you can expect, certainly at Expo, certainly at Dragon Maid for that matter, it's full on from the point at which you arrive to the point at which the doors close.
Yeah.
You've got your hour and a half to restock... And then you're back out. You're back in the following morning, restocking from the morning period.
Yeah.
And the flow is non-stop. And the thing with Expo is that there's always someone walking past the stall. So you're always on the stall. You're always active. You're always up. And by the end of the show, you're exhausted.
It does sound exhausting, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether I'm looking forward to it or not, to be honest.
You'll love it. It'll be the great opportunity to talk about what's old to new to loads of new people.
I suppose so, yes. Yes, it will be that. It will be that. Yeah.
And listeners, do feel free to come along to, if you're at UK Games Expo, and tell us how much you appreciate the show.
Yeah.
Open invite, please do come along.
You're coming to UK Games Expo this year as well, aren't you?
Yes, I am. It's going to be my first time to UK Games Expo. So
excellent.
It does sound like I'm going to be splitting my time between the Ian World Publishing stand and the Novotel.
It is. Games Expo is fun. It's very big, though. I mean, especially last year when the exhibitor hall was 2 big halls, and it's starting to look a bit like Gen Con or something like that. Just visually.
Well, we're not there yet.
Yeah,
we're getting there, but I don't think we're ever going to get to those numbers because we are in England. And as much as we're doing well, you've got so many more people in America.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. At some point in time, I'd like to say, "Yep, absolutely, that's us, number one. Happy days." Not yet.
Yeah.
Although having said that, we do have a higher population density. Because I've noticed online, a lot of Americans find it quite hard to find games. Because if they want to meet up with someone, they have to drive like 2 hours. Drive 2 hours to get to a game. It's like, but I don't wish to go to an entirely different city to play role-playing games. I complain quite enough when I have to drive to a different part of my own hometown. It sounds really good.
Is there any sort of because the Expo is growing so much? Is there any chance it's going to sort of start to outgrow the Hilton?
The Hilton it already outgrew. Did that 4 years ago. We're in NEC halls 1, 2, and again I can't confirm, but quite possibly 3.
Yeah.
So put that in perspective.
Yeah. No, I don't.
Putting that in perspective, the Hilton is a quarter of NEC 1 by the time you've got it.
Yeah, I mean you do have to make sure you get your rooms sorted early, don't you? Because
oh yes.
Yeah.
So these NEC halls, as I remember, and this is going back a while to when I was doing Golden Demons and Games Days with Games Workshop, but you could hold like a decent game of football in there.
Oh yeah, they're big. Yeah.
So
it's like basically 3 football pitch-sized rooms.
Yeah.
That are going to be absolutely cram-packed full of people playing games, selling games. Yeah.
The way I've always loved looking at it is that do you remember the TV show Gladiators?
Yes.
Right. That was NEC Hall 1.
Oh, okay. Pretty large.
So they put all that in Hall 1 and they had space spare. And now we've got nothing but games in it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
In fact, if you look on the website, there is several shots, not from last year, but from the year previous, where we've got a double-decker bus in the middle of the hall. Because Wotan Games bring the games bus.
Yeah.
And it's a double-decker bus, and it looks like a Tonka toy.
Okay,
It's brilliant when you watch it, but it's just staggering. You just sit there going, really?
Yeah.
That's a double... No, that can't be a double-decker bus.
It does get...
It
does get very, very crowded, those exhibitor halls. There are so many people in there. They get quite warm as well, I've noticed.
Yep, that's the one, but we do have refreshment stations available, and we make sure everyone's got all the things they need. And I think that's the other thing about it, is that obviously we've done conventions ourselves.
Yeah.
And so we know what we don't like about conventions, we know what we do like about conventions, and when people say we're not sure about something, we'd rather have something like this, we'd rather do this, we listen.
Yeah.
And that more than anything.
I think I do not have the best memory in the world. I'll be perfectly honest. Okay. I think there was like a deal where you could, if you went around and bought games, you could then like have sort of a locker place where you could put it. And then pick them up at the end of the day.
The shop and drop. Yep, that's available. Yep, we've got a shop and drop. It's been implemented in a number of conventions since. Basically, you I think it's about £1, £2 or something similar. And basically, you put your bag in there, and you've seen some of the bags that some of the people carry. That's a hell of a weight off. And you literally you leave your bag there, come back at the end of the day, pick it up, off you go. And we've had to expand that year on year because it always fills up.
Yeah.
Usually in the first quarter of the day.
Oh, wow, okay, yep. So get in, do your shopping, and then drop it to shop and drop, and then just play games.
Then go play games. That's it.
Yeah.
So, over the years, what would you say some of the biggest challenges that you've had, sort of the sort of big difficulties that arise when you're trying to run a game convention?
Big difficulties in general. Several things. People, I don't know, are you familiar with the games convention Essen?
Yes, yeah. I haven't been to it, but I know of it. Yeah.
Passing. Yeah.
Okay, well, the thing that we look at is that I've been to Essen once, and there was nowhere to play a game, nowhere to do much else.
Yeah.
You went in, you bought your things, you left. That's what you did.
Okay.
And for me, that's not what a convention is. I don't want to do that. So you've got to have the space available for people to play games. Problem, because it's free space for them.
Yeah.
It's not free space for you.
Yes, yeah.
You have to pay for it. Yeah.
You've got to have the number of games available. Obviously, the RPGs grew from 2008 when I first came on board. There was my team, and that was 4 of us. So we ran about 8 games. Okay. This year's schedule already is about 350. There's probably going to be another 150 by the time we're done. And you've got to build the interest in, but you've also got to make sure you've got the right games for people. So it can't all be Call of Cthulhu, it can't all be D&D 5th Ed, because as popular as those are, they're not going to be the ones. Exactly. And you need that variation. But then you also need the things where you listen every year. People say, I can't get food quickly. That happens all the time. The bar ran out. And then the challenge is bringing things that people actually want to go to. Because for me, the rule of conventions has always been, can you do it at home? If you can do it at home, why are you going to go to a convention?
Yeah, good point.
Make something interesting. Make something you can't do at home. Make it good. And then every year, make it better. And that sounds vague, but that is what it is.
Yeah, sure.
You have to, every year, you have to improve. You have to go on. You can't stand still.
No, okay.
You can never stand still. You're always looking at the next bit, the next show. Expo planning starts about 3 minutes after we've finished.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely... I mean, I imagine that's a lot more of a challenge to organise in Dragon Meet is just from a scale point of view, isn't it?
Dragon Meet pretty much gets organised between me and Chris.
Yeah.
And given that we were 2,500 people last year, which from when we took it over, which was about 800 people... But we're 2,500 people this year, and we're expecting probably 3,000 this year. And Expo went, well, the last year at the Clarendon Suites, I think we were somewhere near 4 or 5,000. So moving to the Hilton was a big challenge, and the thought was, are we going to fill the Hilton? And then we went to the Hilton, and it packed out completely.
Yeah.
And we had to move suddenly and go, actually, we need the NEC.
Yeah.
And of course, Richard and Tony, that's their challenge constantly. With Dragon Meet, we're going to get to a stage where we overrun the Novotel, and that's probably going to happen in the next year, 2 at most. And then we're moving to Olympia. or Excel.
Kingston.
Yep.
Right.
I guess it's a good problem to have.
Ooh.
It is, but the
but a
planning in
risk, though,
advance
as well.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yep, always the risk. But if you don't keep moving forward, the convention stagnates.
So do you get to enjoy conventions as a punter ever these days, or are you just too busy working on them and helping out with them, or all the different things you do?
I haven't been to a convention as a punter. Let's have a think. No, tell a lie. There we go. I went to the Robin convention, which is a war game show in Nottingham. That was about 3-4 weeks ago.
Ah, there we go.
But that is the first convention I've been to as a punter in 12 years.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So you go and you see the conventions and you listen to people and you enjoy the conventions.
Yes.
And it's a case of getting time out every once in a while, and you rely on talking to all the people you know so that they can tell you what is working, what isn't working, because you're not a punter. Whatever else I am, if I go to UK Games Expo in my current role, here we go, this is one thing that'll really get them. All things considered, I can walk into the bring and buy. I don't have an hour wait in the queue. I'm the operations team.
Sure,
I never go in there. I never go in there for anything else. But I literally pass the queue, so I don't understand the frustration
Sure, yeah.
of the people waiting an hour to get in, because I go in there, do what I have to do, get back out.
And then leave again, yeah.
Everyone else may have to wait an hour to get in. When you're looking at live shows in some events, you look at other things, waiting for tournaments, waiting for everything else, waiting for games to start. I don't have that frustration because I'm constantly working.
Sure, yeah.
I'm up at 6 in the morning. I'm usually working till 11:30 at night. I'm back the next morning.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow.
And but you rely on people being honest with you and saying, seriously, if something's wrong, tell us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're
Tell
not
us.
psychic. You can't be expected to read people's minds.
Exactly. But we also want the honest feedback. If someone says, reduce the beer price, we're like, yep, nice idea, but no. It's not going to happen.
Free beer for all.
Exactly. It is beyond our control.
Yeah.
Double the open gaming space. It's open gaming, it's free. So, yes, it is, not for us.
Yeah.
And so you'll always get moon on a stick ideas, but it's listening to what people want and then reasonably making something of it that makes the difference.
So I assume you enjoy it, though. I mean, it sounds like it's a challenge and it's a lot of work, but it also sounds like...
Every time.
Yeah, it's...
Well, the best thing in the world is at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And the end of the convention. And everyone's leaving.
Yep.
And everyone's smiling.
Yeah.
That's
There
good.
is no better thing.
Except that you know it's over for another year.
There's the thing. But the real thing about it is that, as I say, from the 80s and the 90s, there was nowhere for us to go. And now it's taken us months and months of planning, it's taken us hard work, it's taken us organisation, but we've done it. And 3,000 people have come in and had a good time, 35,000 people have had a good time, and they're all us.
Yeah. So John, you've run like a huge range of conventions, because UK Games Expo, top end of scale, Dragon Meet, mid scale. You were mentioning also LongCon, the 48-hour gaming one.
Yep.
I imagine that's probably a lot fewer people.
between 40 and 70 people.
Oh, okay, so a small scale one, but over 2 days.
Yep.
Whereabouts in the country is that?
That's at the Sheffield. It's up at a place called the Garrison Hotel. There's a number of conventions there. Basically, it's the Garrison Hub. The pub in question has an upstairs room, a downstairs set of rooms. They're friendly. They know all about people. They know about gamers.
Yeah.
Yes, that's always finding a venue where they're like, oh yes,
and the
we
bar,
know how gamers work.
Precisely. The bar does not run out. The food is prompt. Job done. And it's brilliant. So you have conventions like Seven Hills, Furnace, Shake On. You have all these different conventions there across the year. And it's a really good venue. It's a comfortable area. It's nice. It's not massively overpriced like a number of hotels. It's just nice.
And whenabouts does it run, LongCon?
I'm about to announce that one, actually. It's coming in at July this year, the second weekend, and we're going to be taking bookings for that one shortly. Everything else, obviously organising Aircon, coming off the back of that one, negotiating for Dragon Meet. We just haven't moved as fast as we wanted to, and that of course is the other problem. You've got to running 3 larger conventions. It eats your time.
Looking on the other end of the scale, coming up 22nd to 24th of March is StabCon South, which is the largest board game convention on the south coast of England. That's actually in Southampton as well.
Is that next week? Next week, isn't it? Or the week after?
It's not this weekend,
Right,
it's the weekend after. Yeah. And I'm from the Southampton Guild of Role Players, and the guys running it have asked us to provide the role-playing strand. It's going to be nowhere near as big as you. It's like one room, three tables of games.
Yep.
But one of the things we'd like to do in Southampton is build up to our own role-playing game convention. Do you have any advice to somebody just starting off?
The thing is behind it is that we're a community. So even if I'm not working the con, you need people for your convention. Tell me. Yeah, you tell me, I put the word out, everyone who's in that vicinity can volunteer for that. The idea behind it being is that when you're offering your time for these sort of things, equally they're giving something to you, so you normally have to give something back. Usually, free entrance will cover it, 99 times out of 100. Obviously, things like the Expo Rewards package, far larger, you get your accommodation if you run a certain number of games, but it's a community, so you get people like Simon Burley, for example. Simon ran, he made Golden Heroes a number of years ago. He now runs the convention circuit, and he works relentlessly. He goes to every convention.
Wow.
Yeah, and he loves organising things. He loves running games. And there are people like him up and down the country. And 9 times out of 10, all it takes is someone to say, actually, there's a convention here. Do you want to go to it? Would you be happy running games for it? People will turn up. Because everyone wants to support this, because it's the hobby that we all love. And most of us would, well, let's put it this way to you, you don't get paid that much. So you're not doing it for the pay. You're doing it because you love what you're doing. And most GMs that I know will happily turn up, run all day long, not worry about the fact that they've done that, smile and call for more. And it's because they love doing it. There's a lot of GMs on the convention circuit, but it's then making sure you've got the right rooms for the event, because as you know, if you're playing an RPG, if you're in a room with 20 other tables,
that's not feasible. That's far too noisy.
It's far too noisy. So you have rooms where you try and limit it to 5 people, 6 people most. And I say 6 people, 6 tables, but so you've got the quiet, you've got the atmosphere, so you can play Call of Cthulhu without being deafened by everybody else. You can generate the atmosphere you need. You can make a memorable game. And that's the thing. So all credit to the people who can run things like the D&D Open, where it's 150 players in the same room, without doing what they do in Gen Con and putting speakers in the middle of the table, which, that was that was an eye opener. Not
a hairdryer moment, was it?
Yeah, just a bit. But that sort of thing, where if you engage the community, you'll do just fine.
Okay.
It's if you don't engage the community,
well, you're going to struggle, aren't you?
They won't engage back.
I guess the other side of that is also bringing in exhibitors and different companies to sell their wares and stuff like that, which is probably an entirely different sort of skill set that you need.
It is in some ways. The way to look at that one as well is that if you're starting at a grassroots level, if you're starting with a smaller convention, you won't get many traders.
No.
You will get some. You'll get the local traders. You'll get a couple of other people. But what you will get, if you've made a good convention, is the word of mouth. And the way Expo builds, the way Dragon Meet Aircon builds, is that for every person who went back and went, I had an awesome time. You'll get 5 people on the internet looking at it going, I wish I had been there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And all you need is those moments where people go, I wish I had been there. Those people come for 1 day the next year. When they've been once, they come for 3 days the next year. And it takes time.
There's one thing I did want to mention, and that was, and it's a bit of a tricky subject, this one, but harassment policies.
Yes.
Because I know that quite a few US conventions have had problems related to sort of harassment taking place at their conventions. And they've had some quite negative fallout because of that. I don't want to sort of go into details, but some of them have. Have you got any sort of thoughts on how a convention should approach the topic of harassment and harassment policies? And
you're right, it is a controversial subject. The thoughts that I have, and bear in mind I can only speak from Dragon Meet from an official point of view at that point.
Sure, I was thinking more generally rather than about a specific.
More generally, the thought behind it being is these should be safe areas for people to be in.
Yeah.
And you don't do that with a harassment policy. A harassment policy will not stop people from being idiots.
Yes.
What matters is that when something happens, you do something about it. Yeah? It's not lip service. You can't just say to people, well, we hope you have a good time. Here's the harassment policy. Please let us know if something goes wrong. Oh, and if something does go wrong, you then don't do anything with it. You can't do that. You've got to take I cannot speak of specifics, but every event that's ever been reported at any convention I do has been investigated thoroughly, has been reported back to the people who made the complaint, whether or not they were the people who were actually involved in it in the first instance. Because sometimes people make complaints regarding other people, sometimes people complain on behalf of other people. What matters is that it's investigated, it is clear that you've looked into it, you've made sure you've got all the details before you've gone back, you make a resolution on it, and you hold to that. Words on paper will change nothing. What matters is the attitude. We have briefings for the volunteers at Dragon Meet, at Expo, and those briefings include what to do in case someone has an issue of any sort. So we have a chain of command, we have independent arbiters. We take that seriously because it's us. Yeah. And if I complained about something, I would expect that someone took it seriously. Sure. I would expect they came back to me and told me what they'd resolved. And I would expect that they'd investigated every part of it. So, now, that for me is the key. It matters. You build it from a ground level. As with all things, you start with the staff. Yeah. So the people who come in and volunteer their time, they know what you stand for. And that goes all the way to the top. Yeah, and it has to be led from the people at the top. They have to care every bit as much as everybody else, because then you can see that it goes through all the way. And there's that understanding that whatever level you talk, we're there. We're right with you. That's what we're there for. Yeah. We're doing this so you have a good time. Yeah, this isn't, not to put too fine a point on it, conventions are hard work. Yes. We're not doing this because we're having fun, because we ain't having fun. We're doing this because we're making it a good space for everyone else. We're making it somewhere where you can play games, where new people can come in and play games, and know that it's a good thing. So if someone's there to mess that up, no, we don't stand for that. No convention ever stands for that. And if it does, it should be it should be held accountable. Yeah.
One thing I have noticed, both at Dragon Meet and UK Games Expo, and basically every convention I've been to be honest, not just those, but is there's an awful lot more women at them these days than I seem to remember from 20 years ago, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing to see. Is that something that's sort of borne out by your observation?
Yeah, without a doubt. Expo is now easily more than 50% women and children, whereas as 25, 30 years ago, it was 95% men.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And it's because there's more acceptance of the hobby, people are understanding you can do this. It's not just a boys' club. Everyone can come and enjoy these things. Yeah, there's no restrictions to it. Everyone can enjoy this.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's really, really noticeable in the hobby, I think. It's just becoming more inclusive. It's becoming a much broader, more mainstream hobby.
Yes.
Gaming's for everyone. What can you say? Yeah. John, thank you so much for being on the show. Really, really appreciate it.
It has been my genuine pleasure.
Thank you so much to everybody for listening, as always. It's going to be goodbye from me, Russ.
It's goodbye from me, Peter Coffey, Southampton Guild of Role Players.
And it's good night from them as well.
Goodbye then. Thank you so much, everybody. Till next week. Bye-bye.
Well, I imagine you were as disappointed as I was with that podcast. I will have them tortured as usual. I think I'm going to put Russ in a small box in the basement, while Peter will be hung from the ramparts.